Welcome back to the Rising of the Shield Hero anime review, episode 5. This one covering episodes 22 to 25. These 4 episodes cover the entirety of book 5, and from what I can tell while looking for online, apparently it adapts a little bit from book 6 and book 10. I'm not sure what they adapt book 10 because I didn't find information for it. What happens in these episodes? Well, the first episode, they kind of do the sequence a little bit out of order, because they start off with Philo and Raptalia. The sequence is kind of trimmed down for the way it was presented in the book, where that they want to basically just, of course, they mentioned early on that Philo wanted the ability to shoot acid, and Raptalia basically wanted to level up to the thing they wanted. They touch the thing, and there's no mention here of, because they didn't want that the one they got is not the one they wanted. They wanted to try again, but they would have to reset back to level 1, which is something they didn't want to do. It's a bit of a trimmed down sequence from the book, and also in the book, yeah, because this actually happened a little bit after the next scene. We have the 4 cardinal heroes meeting with the queen. Now, this scene took place at the start of the book. Unknown why they switched the scene around for. Probably because they wanted to have them later. I'm not sure. And still shows the 4 heroes cannot get along, because the shield hero is the one who actually does his freaking job and is not a complete idiot about it. Also, he takes his job very seriously. Yeah, and of course, I mentioned like copying weapons. Yeah, that was actually the thing that was especially for them, but then he finally copied all the weapons as one weapon shop he freaking goes to. But he did promise the guy later on he would buy stuff from them. And despite the fact that he did discover this, he was going to tell him, but nope. Well, first, they spent a majority of these episodes like, okay, they need to level up quickly before the next wave, so they go to an island named Carl. It's basically a series of islands they go to, and they go to via cruise ship. Oh, and yes, the bow, sword, and spear hero apparently can't take to the sea very well. They can go around the land, no problem. But apparently these 3 suffer from seasickness. Yes, also, basically, while they're on the ship, first they stop by Raptalia's hometown to put flowers on her friend's grave, which is quite nice. Don't worry, I'll get back to what happens here later on. Before they leave, they run into a couple people. One's name is Lark, and one name is, well, Dundra. They actually choose those later. One looks like he's carrying a scythe, and the other one basically is carrying jewels. They explain more about these 2 later on, when they get on their wooden ship. Yes, a wooden passenger ship. And they go to the island. And the shield hero gets there, no problem. He meets up with the Earl. It's a pretty pleasant meeting. And he sees that their 3 cardinal heroes are seasick. Yeah, and their party just go along with them. So they decide to do some leveling up, because they're there to level up for next wave. Like, big time. So they go out in the field, and they kill some slime, and they level up very quickly. And then their progress is halted. All because the other heroes show up. Yep, and they bicker, and then the show's like, screw it, we're out of here. Takes Philo and Raptalia with him. And he meets up with the other 2 later. They also come across a totem pole. Yes, a totem pole. I know what this thing is, because this is something associated with Native American culture. I'm not sure if this is actually also something you see in Japan, but when I see this thing, I think of Native American culture. Why in the world the series has a totem pole in it, I have no idea. What the heck a totem pole is, you probably ask? It's, for what I know about it, now, I know I'm not Native American. I have seen them. I've seen pictures. I think mostly these things are mostly serve as gravestones for dead Native Americans who, when they pass away, they're basically put in a sitting position. This is what I've heard. And why this thing is used as a monument, it's just unknown. Maybe the writer of the series maybe heard of it and probably used it here. It's perfectly fine the way it is. and they have this little reading thing that gives it their philo, whatever it is, and meet up with the other two at the very same size. You know, to go like, okay, so they go out and they, well, kill some monsters, and of course they meet each other again. The very next day they do some live battling, and of course he, along with Philo, deal with the small fry, while the other three basically deal with the giant boss. Also, the Shield Hero crafts a bracelet for Tedra. Yep. And, well, they come across a beach where, well, they actually have, so yeah, they go to the beach. Yep. And you have Nafumi and Slimsu. We have Philo in very cute little bikini. Raphtalia, I would have thought that something's a little different, but he's like, okay, that's perfectly fine. Oh, and I thought this was really funny. They even had this in book 6, where, okay, they put on diving suits. They're essentially penguin suits. I thought this was so funny. And they go down to underground room to Philo discover this place. Like, maybe use some special magic in it. Nope. He just touched the thing with the fin, thing opens. They discover some air, they get up there, and they turn slight, and they discover a dragon hourglass, just like the capital does. And it turns out there's some waves coming in just 2 days. So he also discovers he can teleport. So he teleports straight back to the capital, explains what's going on. So the queen musters up the army, not the entire of it, it's basically a good chunk of troops. She even comes along too, along with Melty, because she's Philo's BFF. So, and plus she's also part of Nafumi's party. So they basically have the soldiers deal with the small fry, and have Nafumi, and apparently it's supposed to be the rest of the heroes, deal with the big ones. And Lark and his associate deal with the one creature too. And, like, okay, they will creature, maybe things over. Nope, it turns out Lark is not actually their friend. He actually is revealed to be from another world. He's actually the Scythe hero. And he really wants to kill the Shield hero. Oh yeah, he has a thing prior to this where he calls the Shield hero Kiddo, because he looks younger than he is. And he calls him Shield Kiddo. And they fight, and then all of a sudden Glass shows up. Yes, Glass, making her return in like 10 episodes. Also, before I continue here, 24 does something a bit unusual. It has no code opening. I'm like, that's unusual for the series, because usually like every episode, even 25 has a code opening, though it has the credits rolling. 24 does not have a code opening. It goes straight to the credits. As soon as you start the episode up, it goes straight to the credits, and then the episode itself. So, when Glass shows up, and now there's actually a bit of a line change here, because in the book, Nafumi says, I was hoping I was not going to see you again. And during the course of the fight, Glass reveals she's actually a hero from another world that looks like feudal Japan. I'm not kidding about that. Yeah, the only reason I know that because, well, the people wearing samurai armor. Well, mostly 19th century style, not samurai armor. And they fight for a pretty good period of time, and Glass only wants to fight the Shield hero because he's the one who actually really isn't here. He really is an actual hero. And she's actually quite impressed with how he improves. He does briefly use the Wraith Shield, but he does not use Blood Sacrifice like he did before. But thanks to a good amount of battling, they kind of in a way defeat them without killing them. And the 3 just leave. And, like, the queen basically says, like, after Nafumi basically deals with that, he goes back home, says bye to the Apigo, and then, of course, like, he basically like, okay, we need a reward deal with taking the Pope. Like, okay. And Raphtalia is like, what's the reward? What is the reward? He gets his own territory. Yes, he gets the territory that has Raphtalia's hometown in it. And because he got this place, people he's met over the course of the series, with the exception of the weapon shop owners, surprisingly, come to live in the town. And they're building the town really quickly. And Raphtalia thinks he's going to be like leaving him behind. Oh, before they get back to the place, I thought this was quite interesting to point out though. One of the members of the Boat Heroes party helps out Nafumi in the battle, and because she's somewhat clumsy, she got kicked out of the party for, get this, apparently breaking one of the Boat Hero possessions. Yeah, it's actually a fake charge. But at least it's not Nafumi accused of false charges. Nope. So he tells her, like, why'd you join my party? I'll treat you nicely and I'll train you. And she's like, okay. And she's with him for the last episode. Yep, joins the party. I think she's still part of him with the book I'm reading right now. So that's, and of course, well, Reptalia gives him a hug basically for taking care of her hometown. And feels like, hey, wait, say something for me. And feels like, Melty, get in here too. He's like, what? And she like embarrassed by it. It's been implied that Melty likes Nafumi. And her mother has been egging her on to get into engagement with Nafumi. And from what I heard also is that apparently, like, the queen wants these two to get married and possibly have a child together. Nafumi's like, I'm not interested. I don't have a lolly fetish like the spear hero does. So he's not interested in basically sleeping with a little kid in an adult way. He has no interest in it at all. Though it would be kind of surprising if he does engage with a princess. Yeah, I kind of hope that he eventually does. I mean, it would be quite an interesting pairing. And because of her duties as a queen, she can't go along with him on adventures anymore. Which, Nafumi has no problem with that at all. Because she's the heir to the throne, and she needs responsibility. She can occasionally hang out with them. Basically hang out with Phila, no problem. And, well, the way the thing ended, it seems like, though, we're also set up for new stuff. And Nafumi tells Reptalia the reason why I picked this place because you need a home base. So, why not have it be Reptalia's hometown? Awesome. And the hero's basically like, okay, just doing their own thing. The show's hero's basically living like a rich playboy, despite the fact he has a woman who is a master manipulator, who can manipulate him at her own whim. And he doesn't freaking care. Despite the fact that she's actually his slave. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when they're at the party, Whore wanted to poison the shield hero's pie. Melty found out about this. Apparently she has the authority to question her, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna poison. And of course, one of the both heroes' men decides to start a fight with Reptalia while he's drunk. And then they have a rematch later where she beats him in an arm wrestling match. Awesome. Yep. And I gotta say, for the stuff that's book 5, they did a really good job. Though I think some of the stuff they did with some of the montages, but it's held out really well in my opinion. And from the stuff they kept from book 5, they did a really good job. Though they kind of switch the sequence up a bit, which I thought that was kind of strange. But mostly put, does a really good job. It's kind of good. Now, when I read book 6, I only read the chapter 3, which is kind of good because I think they kind of loosely adapted that for episode 6. But as how much further they got with book 6, I don't know. I highly doubt they adapted one entire book for one episode. That'd be stupid on their part if they adapted an entire book for one episode. Yeah, you can't exactly squeeze nearly a 400-page book into 23 minutes. It is impossible. Especially since there's a lot of stuff that happens in this book. So, yeah. They probably just did the first few chapters. 3, 4 chapters. I only read the first 3. Yeah. I'm not sure whether they adapted from book 10. I'm not sure what. I don't know if book 10 is like one of these regular stories or is one of these books where it's like a series of stories. I don't know. I'll find that out when I read book 10 for the series. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. Now, my next anime series I'm starting up. I actually watched the first 3 episodes already. It'll be a review of this brand new series called it's called Omori Himori. Yes, that's the name of the series. And I will explain the premise of the series. Unlike the Rising Short Hero, was based upon light novels, this is based upon a manga. 875 chapter manga. But I'll explain more about that in my first part review for the review series, okay? But see you next video. Bye.